We've been talking about Shadows of the Empire quite a bit on the channel over the last week or so, and I mean, why not? Shadows of the Empire, in my opinion, is an excellent story, which, in the Star Wars Expanded Universe, slots perfectly between episodes 5 and 6. Shadows of the Empire ends really immediately before the beginning of Return of the Jedi, and we get a ton of insight into the mental states of both our heroes and villains, not just their plans for the future, but also their perspective on major past events. We'll discuss all that and more in today's video. Hey guys, this is Justin. Hope everyone is having a great day. Happy weekend as well. So, Shadows of the Empire. I gave a brief overview last video, but for those who missed that one, Shadows of the Empire, which released in the mid-90s, was a big Star Wars Expanded Universe multimedia project. The idea was to produce everything you would alongside a film, but without the movie. So, quite famously, there was the Shadows of the Empire video game, also a novel and comic, and what's pretty interesting is that these mediums tell different and often, especially in terms of the video game and novel, conflicting narratives. And I'm going to do a whole video about that. I quite like the headcanon that the video game is just dashes boasting about events after the fact, but most of the information we're talking about today comes from the novel, with the general setup being that Luke, Leia, Lando, the droids, and Chewbacca are sort of in a holding position. They start the story off on Tatooine, trying to figure out how to possibly get Han Solo back from the clutches of Boba Fett. At the same time, a new death mark is put on Luke Skywalker's head by Black Sun through Prince Shizor, who's directly trying to mess with Darth Vader, and Vader himself is also on the hunt for Luke, who of course he is recognized as his child. And I think my favorite part of the novel is the insight we get into Vader's mental state. Now, I alluded to this in my past video. This was a tough call for writers in the 1990s. They knew in general what happened to Anakin Skywalker, i.e. that he was once a Jedi, he got in a fight with Obi-Wan, which left him in, at that time, it was a volcano, burning most of his body. He had a wife of unknown name, the 2 children, and really that was it. Shadows of the Empire is interesting because despite really the lack of true backstory, which of course would be established by the prequels, it does a good job of nailing most aspects of Vader's character, even when read in 2025. Like, there was nothing in this novel that felt out of place to me. So let's start with what I've probably alluded to in the thumbnail and title. What does Vader think of both his duel with Luke Skywalker and Luke's overall power? Well, you may or may not be surprised to learn that Vader has an exceptionally high opinion of Luke, to the point where he believes Luke will even someday outclass Emperor Palpatine in power. Vader also treats Luke somewhat disposably, or at least that's what he tries to do. There are hints throughout the novel that Vader does have a deeper connection than he's letting on, and a lot of the book is also about Vader trying to hide and bury any positive light side feelings he still has left. So, in reference to their duel on Bespin, when, of course, Vader knew Luke was his son and was trying to capture him, he also says when they were fighting beyond the carbonite freezing chamber, he was trying to strike Luke down. He was trying to kill him. Was he going 100%? Probably not, but he describes Luke as a worthy opponent, despite, of course, his, at the time, only minimal training. He also says when they fought, he had also tried to strike the boy down, but that had been a test. Had he been able to kill Luke easily, Luke would not have been worth the effort to recruit, but although he had certainly attempted to defeat Luke, the boy had held his own. Despite Vader's superior skill, despite his experience, Luke had survived with no more damage than an easily repaired, amputated hand. And this is an idea that continues throughout the book. Basically, yes, there's a death mark on Luke, Black Sun is up to nonsense, but Darth Vader most of the time seems to believe he'll be okay, and Emperor Palpatine says almost the exact same thing. Listen, if Black Sun and their hired guns are able to kill Luke, he's not worthy being our apprentice or a part of our triad, or really what he's thinking your replacement Vader. It's kind of funny because there's a moment there where Darth Vader hears the Emperor say that and he's like, yeah, I don't like that. I'm allowed to think that, but when you say it about my son, it's a little different. Anyway, one thing I really like about the story is that we see the Luke he's referring to at the beginning of the novel, a raw, not quite yet Jedi, but as it progresses, we see through various combat situations, Luke learn to embrace the Force, do the opposite of what Vader does in allowing his emotions in his anger. Luke instead learns to clear his mind, to really heed the lessons of Master Yoda, and by the end we see that manifest in his flying, his lightsaber combat. There's a scene where he's in a hallway and his blade becomes an extension of himself, returning bolts back to enemies almost unconsciously, when at the beginning of the novel, not only could Luke not reliably bat a single bolt back in combat, he hadn't even built his lightsaber yet. It's nice because he's changed noticeably by episode 6. He's calling himself a Jedi Knight. That needs to be earned. I think Shadows of the Empire does a good job of showing that. But I want to return to Darth Vader just to finish off the video because Shadows of the Empire does something else kind of interesting with the character. And no, I'm not referring to his rivalry with Shizor of Black Sun, although I do think that's interesting. No. So Vader at this point, we learn, is actually trying to heal his injuries suffered from Obi-Wan Kenobi. And not just trying, he's successfully doing so. Obviously, we don't see this play out to know whether he could have ultimately been successful because Vader dies several months later, but it's interesting. So, in contrast to Palpatine, who Vader notes has been made ugly through his exposure to the dark side of the Force, Vader is using the dark side to heal his lungs. He uses his anger, largely his anger at being put in this situation, to force the membranes of his lungs to heal, his throat to start working again, and he's actually able to breathe without his suit. The problem is, Vader continuously allows his happiness at his success to interrupt his use of the dark side. You gotta be cool about it, Darth Vader. But it's his earnest belief that with practice, he will eventually be able to first move away from the suit for hours, then eventually ditch it entirely. As long as he could maintain his indignation, his lungs and breathing passages stayed open and clear. He fed the fires of his rage with the unfairness of a galaxy that would not let him be whole. Still, the healing energies held. He fought the sense of relief he felt, fought it and kept his anger pure, and still they held. Almost 2 minutes now, a new record. He would grow stronger. He would add Luke's power to his own, and he would eventually be able to shed his armor, to walk around as normal men walked. He fails, it continues, but even so, he managed 2 minutes. Eventually it would be 10, then an hour, then as long as he wished, eventually. It is kind of interesting that alongside wanting to reconnect with his son, the novel offers another explanation. Vader believes that Anakin can help him further learn the secrets of the dark side and heal himself. And I mean, sure, why not? We see Palpatine do some incredible life extension techniques with essence transfer through the power of the dark side, even as his flesh fails him. Either way, this video is mostly about some insights into Luke and Vader. I hope you enjoyed them. We're going to cover more about Shadows of the Empire. I probably will do at least one battle breakdown, maybe the raid on the Serpoza or the final space battle over Coruscant. If there's something specifically you'd like to see, let me know. Anyways, guys, until next time, be safe, have a good one, and may the Force be with you.